Hey guys, it's me again. I'm coming on today. As 2024 is kicked off, it's been somewhat of an interesting time. Lots coming our way. It's been feeling really impactful, at least for me. I've been sleeping, not sleeping, up, down, all around. And what I'm talking about today is going to be about shadow work once again. I am a big fan of shadow work. When scenarios show up for me, I always relay them as raw and real as they may be. I always feel like that's the only way I can really relate what I'm trying to say, because if I'm making up the scenario and I'm using names I don't know, it throws me. So just bear with me. It's a little bit lethargic for me because it puts me in the protester stance, which I'm now finally like relaying what I'm postulating out to the world. So it kind of helps me even dissect further, and that's what I also need as well. So some ways you guys are therapy for me, so please know that. So what I'm talking about today is something called shadow patterns. Okay, I'm a big fan of shadow work, and when I see patterns arising, I talk about them, because you might be facing shadow patterns as well. And if you are and you want to know what I mean, I'm going to talk about my 3 scenarios that I want to bring up and how I see the patterns emerging, and that if you don't face these patterns, you'll notice that these reflections will start popping up more and more and more and more, because you need to understand what's in your shadow box or closet, whatever way you want to put it. And once you can take a look at what it is that you're really being faced with, you move it from the shadow to the light. And if you can do that, you'll notice that you can get through these hang-ups a lot easier. Now, I'm noticing that you may not be able to see, so I might put up bulletin points or I might not. Just depends on how this all goes. So if you see back here, I have 3 structures. 1, 2, 3. Now, as I said, you're not actually mad at the people, places, or things in the situations you're being faced with. You're truly mad at the shadow aspect that you're being triggered with when these situations occur. So if you can locate those triggers and you can follow that yellow brick road of the trigger road, okay, you can get to what we call like a kernel of truth or truths in these scenarios that will help you move your shadow aspect into the light. So what these things are, what triggers are usually parts of yourself you do not want to face. Like, they're not easy to face. So if you're not ready to do this type of work, maybe you just want to shut this off, catch me on the next one. But if you are willing to do forms of shadow work and you're curious and you want different modalities, well, I am one of them. So I'm going to give you my version of how I process things, okay? So the 3 scenarios I've been granted was, for those of you that may or may not know, I had mentioned at a birthday that I was being kind of like put up against 2 of my oldest friends I still talk to, like one of the only ones I have left. And her daughter's birthday is coming up, and she has also invited an old friend of mine that I do not associate with, that they were trying to get me conjoined with at the last get together, or making me feel bad about it, etc. So I've now been invited to this party, and I'm put in a situation that I'm trying to get through. So that's why this came up. And the next thing is my ex, as I had said in the last videos. This was a situation that just passed me, where my ex got engaged in Paris to his to the woman that he left me for, and that just happened like maybe a week and a half ago. Then, as you guys may have seen in my other video where I said that I was being put up against like my passion and love for my purpose here, with, you know, working through God's steps, etc., versus this idea of love, or in a sense, like Spirit was kind of, you know, propelling me towards this end result. Or at least that's what I thought. And then when I got, you know, put in the now, in the what's happening, with the what is, and this has been happening for about 1.5 years now, that I've been getting groomed for this or prepared for this, or I was getting so many downloads about it. So there's a lot of weight to that, I'm just saying. And me having to walk away from it was very difficult. So in all of these situations, I refer to these people as the past friend, the past lover, and the past dream or the past fantasy. And the reason why I put them in the past is because I no longer have them or want them. So that's truth number one. Okay? So in all of these three scenarios, that's what I have to work with. Nothing more, nothing less. I have put them in that category. So that's important. Now, what I'm facing with my friend, okay, the one I haven't spoken to in years, was many things. But what I truly felt was that my old friend that I still associate with, she has put me in a position with a, okay, I'm just going to say her name. My friend Christiana is my good friend, and she told me that she invited Tanya, which is a girl I have not talked to in 3 years. Love her dearly. Like I said, I've given all my friends away with God, and I just let it be. And she's trying to put us in the same room so that we can maybe make amends. And the thing is that I explicitly had said to her, like, I would make amends, but that's as far as it would go. And the thing is now I feel like she's trying to bring us together so that we can unite again. And the reason why I bring this up is because what happens in this situation is I start to feel like my friend Christiana is not taking my feelings about the situation into consideration. Like, for example, her putting us together leads to a situation, and it may be in better, it's in her best interest that we connect, because then it makes things easier for her. And necessarily, maybe my friend does want to hear from me, or maybe she doesn't. Maybe my friend knows she's being invited, and I am too. Maybe she doesn't. Those aspects I do not know. But what I do know from this scenario, what I took away from it, right? The feeling, that childhood feeling that comes up, that shadow aspect that comes up. Like I said, I'm not mad at my friend Christiana. I'm not mad at my friend Tanya. I'm mad at the shadow part of me that comes out, which is this feeling of like, my friend is choosing my other friend Tanya's wills and wants more seriously than my own. So then it puts me in this position, this ego-based position of feeling like she's choosing her over me. Okay? I always come across raw, and I don't care what you, like, what transpires from your thoughts of me, but I always want to tell it like how it is, how I'm really feeling, because that's the only way I can really relay how this shadow work works. So with my ex, you have to understand, I was with him for a very long time. So him getting proposing to this woman in a very romantic setting after only being with her for a year was quite devastating. So again, as I move through those emotions, and remember, I am bringing this up so far, these things are emotions. I realized that I had that same overwhelming feeling that I was being chosen. I mean, they were being chosen over me. Okay? So the thing is, from all of that situation with my ex, that's the kernel of truth. Aside from them all being my exes and being in the past and being things I'm not interested in, which is the first truth. The second truth to these two situations so far, right, is that I'm feeling like I'm being chosen over. Okay? So that's the second truth. That's the last thing. And with the future prospect / dream / fantasy, whatever way you want to put it, of a second half, etc. Even though I don't know this person per se, there is this same, and I don't know if they were propositioned for something different. I don't know. But what I do know is how I felt about the whole situation when I was told that I was going to have to go on this, this situation on my own. I started to feel like whoever this is chose a scenario, a person, place, or thing over me, which leads me again to that same last shadow feeling of being glossed over, looked over, and not included, chosen over. Those are the shadow aspects that you don't want to face. Those are the things that you wouldn't notice right away. But if you do sit with your reflections that are coming at you, the things that are triggering you, if you sit with them and you dissect them to a degree to find out what the underlying feelings are, that's how the work begins. So the next stage of this, as I go below here, is I put 2 sections of what the lesson is. Okay, I've got a shadow side and I've got a light side. Okay? So the shadow aspects that I talked about was being chosen over, not getting picked. Okay, this is how the progression goes, right? Which ties into self-esteem, which goes even deeper. Last rung of the row, worthiness. Okay? All three of these scenarios make me feel like I'm not worthy. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Ashley, how did you get there? But that's what that worthiness is, the genuine truth to all of that scenario. That's the thing I'm really facing. In the face of all these things, why am I fixated on the emotions of feeling this way of being chosen over? Which leads me to have self-esteem issues, which leads me to feelings and imbalances with my worthiness. So now that I have targeted that, I now know that what I'm going to be working on and facilitating and working and moving through, like I said, move through the pain, you know, worthiness. It's a really tough one to work through because it's hard, but that's the painful thing. That's what you got to work through. Now, why I say emotions are really, how can I put this? Emotions are what we have to move through, what we have to feel, yes. But our reactive perception is what we need to minimize when we're trying to move shadow to the light. So how this works is that if you were to take out, let's say, pluck out the emotion, right? Like, put it this way, like, you know when people say, like, oh, it's just strictly business, right? And they somehow eliminate the emotion in a situation because it's all about the business. Light work is kind of like that too. So when you take the emotion out and you make it strictly business, right? Then the scenario with my friend doesn't become a juxtaposition of one being versus the other or having any type of egoic feeling towards it. It may simply be that my friend Christiana wants to reunite with us, wants there to be kindredness, and is needing that in her own life in order to make herself feel better. Or it could be her way of saying, I vibe with Tanya more because that's the level I'm at, and I'm slowly phasing you out, Ashley. And it's not even like she's doing it in a malicious way. She's basically just gravitating towards the vibration that's best for her. And the thing with my ex, if I just take away the emotion again, I'm basically saying and leaving myself with my ex just chose who he was truly in love with. And for the last one, I don't even know who the person was that was supposed to step into those shoes. And in some way, I feel like I got ghosted, literally. But when I take away the emotion of that, I just realize that the person chose a different path. There's nothing personal about it. They didn't maybe know who I was either. They just chose a different path. But what it did is it triggered feelings, childhood feelings, little Ashley feelings about unworthiness or being picked over or not feeling chosen or worthy. So what I'm going to have to tackle is that feeling. And what I feel like is that it's calling me to step further into my power. When you do this type of work, it's pulling you into your power more, because the more you realize that these feelings of worthiness, let's say, once you tackle them, they do not make up who you are. You fight through that worthiness feeling. Like for me, I have to realize that these people don't make me. These situations don't make me. And if I want to be chosen or if I want to feel worthy, maybe the next conclusion would be something like, I got to start up my own thing. I got to go find my own stuff, you know, instead of going into a victim mentality, which is something that a lot of us do. We get into these low points. We don't know why we're there, but we're there. And we're like, why is it that I feel this way about this situation? Sometimes if you dissect it like this, it really puts light, right, on the situation. Eliminate the emotion. Once you can look at the emotion for what it is, then you can delve into it. And that's how you actually get through the worthiness, is by going through the emotions, actually analyzing why you feel like you're being chosen over, what that means to you, why it affects you so much, why you're challenged with worthiness, what worthiness makes you more scared of. There's levels to this. It doesn't just end here. So that's why I'm saying, if you are willing to do the work, I'm starting you off, but you can keep going. And the thing is that once you eliminate a pattern, it stops other deflections from happening. Because the thing is that if you don't catch the pattern, it's going to keep popping up and popping up and popping up. So it's best to kind of really keep your eyes sharp to the things that you're being faced with or the underlying truths, because it helps you realize what's being shown to you that you need to work on, get through, and overcome. Hope this helped, guys. I have 40 subscribers. Thank you all for joining in. If you do like what I'm saying, please like, please share, please subscribe. This is Shadow Night with Ashley. But if this isn't really your jam, then catch me on the next one. Bye, guys.